So when Rolex introduced this LV in 2003 on a green bezel, I mean, of course it was on a green bezel, prelude to that as well. But this is the time that everyone sort of turned heads and they're like, what? How dare Rolex put it on a green bezel? And even the iterations after that, you know, leading up to the Hulk, nobody wanted to touch it till 2015. I'd say even the beginning of 2016, it was just right there. You could get a chance to find this on display as well. Back in the days, the authorized dealer in the UAE here literally had them on display. And even a little bit after that, they were available on display, but nobody wanted to touch them. It raised so many eyebrows. One of the most iconic dive watches in the world on a green bezel. How completely wild was that from Rolex? But of course, now it's a chase, and I heard people even travel to get it. And you know what? I've actually watched so many videos, read so many articles hyping up this new Starbucks, this new LV reference, the 1-2 reference. And then I had to buy it for myself and experience it. And I can tell you something, I'm not as excited as I used to be when I first got it. And we're not talking here about first time purchase, excitement type of thing. I'm talking about, you know, one of the most iconic dive watches on a green bezel, black dial, representing, of course, the original. Looks gimmicky. Let me tell you why. What's going on, guys? It is your boy Ridah. This is not going to be a technical review. This is not going to be a buying experience video. This is me telling you the truth, the most realistic feedback that you can get about someone who had actually purchased this new LV reference and how I really feel about it. It was a bold color then, I have to admit that, to have it in green, but then green now is the new blue. If you look at Patek, AP, Tudor, the new novelties that are just out, all in the same direction. All green everything. In fact, I wouldn't even be too surprised if one day you see an AP in all green ceramic, for that matter. I mean, it's a possibility. What could you expect? They just teamed up with Marvels and put them on the concept, all these funky colors. So who knows, maybe that's coming to the Royal Oak too. Rolex in the past had found some ingenious ways to improve the Submariner, but I'm not really sure if this is one of them. I personally like the green and black combination more. It's the original, and I like it better than the all green Hulk. However, I've got mixed feelings about this 2020 release. So what I like about the older Submariner, and when I say older, I'm still talking only about the previous 1-1 reference, is the functionality in a form factor that is meticulously considered more compact than the new reference. Surely we are still talking here about a very small, very minor difference, 0.5 wider, but to us, of course, watch nerds, these are miles apart differences. Something as basic as the 1240-60 or even the counterpart, the date version that is, the new releases on the 41K size, do not make you really notice these differences. But somehow on this LV reference, it's a little bit more pronounced, I have to say. I like the thinner lugs and its updated movement. This is not a bad point. In fact, I'm okay with the new refinements on the case, so it's not a major one, and it's not really the reason why I think this watch is boring. I know a lot of you might not agree with me, but I'm a big fan actually of the 40mm maxi case with the beefier lugs. What counts, however, is the wider bracelet, and when I talk about wider, I know on paper it says 21 instead of 20, but in reality, it's actually really wide. And that also extends to the clasp. I mean, that clasp is noticeably wide. It is so stretched. There is no way you can deny that. And I don't know if this is something that I would prefer over the older variation, the one with the maxi case, the 40mm. I just thought that bracelet on that clasp is perfect. And we all know, of course, that Rolex had tried to cover for that clasp by saying that you get 2 additional adjustment points on the clasp, so it's actually 22 instead of 20. But who really asked for the 2mm additional adjustment? I mean, the glide lock system is one of the most comfortable, the best clasp that you can actually find in the market that does really not need any refinement, not in width, not in height, not in any additional points of adjustment. So to me, this is an invalid point. I prefer definitely the older clasp than the new one. I think they should have kept the older bracelet. I think they should have kept the older clasp, and definitely not even look at increasing the case size. And that could have all been avoided by just keeping the same exact size. Lastly, while the black dial green bezel looks really good, gives this new LV a design hint of earlier models, which I think is a very smart move from Rolex. Well played by Rolex. Trends now are going back to vintage callbacks. I mean, they always somehow go back to vintage. We go to bigger, and then we go back again to smaller and vintage. The incrementally larger case, the 41mm instead of the 40mm on this color combination, actually makes it look bigger and wider. I don't know if this is because of the color separation or the color tone itself that they've used on this ceramic. I'm not really sure, but to me it definitely looks gimmicky. And don't get me wrong, Rolex professional models moved a long time ago from being tool watches to strictly luxury watches. We all know that. But even then, I feel like Rolex somehow pushed this new LV a little further even away from luxury. And yes, in my opinion, partially because of this wider bracelet. For me, I think this color combination, the black and green on the Hulk sizing, would have looked 10 million times better. So the age-old question, should you buy the new version? Should you stomp up the cash, fork out the money on a slimmer, wider and gimmicky new LV, this crazy premium that is on right now that it doesn't look like it's going down anytime soon, which I personally do not think is deserved for this specific release? Or do you ignore the waves that this new LV is making and stick to the older, chunkier, discontinued reference that I think is even much more meaningful, that you can get for the same price if not less? This is my honest opinion. I'm sharing it with you guys. I was very excited when I first picked up this watch. I don't feel the same way. I think Rolex had definitely messed up with this bracelet, this wider clasp. It should have been avoided. In my opinion, good going if you own the previous gen. This one is definitely not worth the upgrade. Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about it. I'd love to go through your comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.